The barn glows faintly, lantern light trembling against the boards. Old Major, the boar, rises like a shadow given voice. His tusks gleam, his eyes heavy with the weight of memory, and his breath carries both wisdom and sadness. You sit close, drawn in by the way he speaks, each word brushing against your skin like straw in the wind. The animals press closer, horses with tired backs, cows whose milk is not their own, hens whose feathers shake in the cool night. They listen, not because they must, but because they yearn. You find yourself aching at his voice. He speaks of freedom, of days when no whip cracks and no human takes what does not belong to them. His tone is gentle, but beneath it you feel the heat of longing, the sharp sting of injustice. You know that feeling, the way you sometimes trace old dreams in your mind? Dreams that never quite came true, yet still glow faintly like embers that refuse to die. Old Major paints a vision, not with paint, but with words so heavy they press down on your chest. He says animals can live equal, side by side, with no master and no chains. You look at Boxer, the horse, strong and steady, his big hooves planted in the straw, his heart so easy to read in the way his eyes soften. You see Clover too, her gentleness quiet but uncheckable. You recognize that quiet moment of hope, the kind you felt when someone told you life could be different, softer, kinder. The barn air thickens with his song. It is not just sound, it is rhythm, pulse, almost heartbeat. Beasts of England rises, the animals humming, then singing, voices trembling but fierce. You join your voice weaving into the mix, and it feels almost human. The way music binds strangers into family, how a shared tune can feel like holding hands in the dark. You remember a time you sang with someone, not caring if your voice cracked, just caring that you weren't alone. That same warmth pulls in you now. The song ends and silence fills the barn again, but this silence is not emptiness. It is full, buzzing, alive. You can almost hear the future pressing against the walls. Old Major sinks down, his breathing heavy. You know he won't last much longer. There's a sadness there, the same kind of ache you feel when you watch someone you love reach the edge of their strength. Yet there is also peace because his words have been planted like seeds, and seeds do not die when the wind takes them. Days pass. You walk the fields, carrying the taste of that night with you. Then suddenly, Old Major is gone. His death is quiet, but it shakes everything. You stand by the simple mound of earth where he lies, and you feel that hollow in your chest, the same one you've known when a voice you relied on goes silent. It feels unfair, like the story should have waited for him, like life should not have moved on without him. And yet, here you are, breathing, watching, knowing the dream will not be buried with him. The pigs, Snowball and Napoleon, clever and restless, step forward to take his vision in their mouths and shape it into words, rules, commandments. You sit in the meetings, straw prickling against your legs, and you hear them speak of animalism, a future where the animals will rule themselves. Their voices weave together, sharp yet persuasive, like two musicians playing the same song in different keys. You listen, uncertain, but drawn in. And then, like thunder cracking in a clear sky, the rebellion bursts. Jones, the farmer, stumbles drunk, careless, and when the animals finally rise, you are swept along. The chaos is loud, hooves striking, horns clashing, feathers flying. You feel your heart race, the rush of being part of something unstoppable, the way adrenaline feels like fire in your veins. You know that human experience, the moment when fear and joy fuse, when you realize you are stronger than you thought. And then silence. Jones is gone, the farm is theirs. The gate swings open, and the fields stretch wide under the sun as if they were always meant to be free. You stand with the animals, breathing in the smell of earth, the sweetness of grass, and you almost laugh. The taste of triumph is strange, like honey on your tongue, too sweet to be real. For a moment you believe. You truly believe. The barn feels new, the animals lighter, their voices brighter. And when they paint the words of the commandments on the wall, you stand close, watching the white letters drip, sharp against the dark boards. All animals are equal. You read it slowly, like a promise whispered in your ear, like the words someone once told you in a quiet moment when you needed to hear them most. You still wonder if it was love or comfort, that moment when hope came alive in you. But here on this farm, under this sky, it doesn't matter. Tonight, it feels enough. The days slip into each other like soft threads weaving a new cloth, and you feel the farm breathe differently now. There's no Jones, no harsh shouts, no hands tugging at udders or whips cracking in the fields. Instead, the animals wake with the rising sun, their own voices guiding them. You rise with them, the cool morning dew touching your skin, and the air smells sharper, freer, like rain that hasn't yet fallen. It feels like starting over, like when you move into a new home, and the walls seem to hum with your presence. The work is heavy, but it does not press on the heart the same way. Boxer pulls harder than anyone, his steady voice repeating, "I will work harder." You watch him, his strength quiet yet enormous, and you feel a tender ache, the kind you felt when someone you care for gives too much of themselves without question. Clover watches him too, her eyes soft, sometimes worried. There's a sweetness in her gaze, a small, unspoken devotion. It reminds you of the way someone once brushed your hair out of your face, silent but steady in their care. Together, the animals till, harvest, and build, and you are swept up in their rhythm. Your hands ache with the effort, but your heart beats lighter. The first harvest without Jones is glorious. The haystack's higher than ever before, and laughter echoes across the yard. There's joy in the air, not the loud, roaring kind, but the quiet joy of belonging, of doing something together. You've known that feeling, the moment when a group pulls in the same direction, and for a while, everything feels easy. But beneath the sunlight, shadows stretch. The pigs take on the planning, their minds sharp, their words weaving rules that sound solid, but feel slippery at the edges. Snowball's speeches dance like sparks, filling the air with visions of machines that will ease every burden. Napoleon says little, yet his eyes linger, steady, watching, as if he holds a secret close to his chest. You know that type, someone who lets silence carry more weight than words, someone whose stillness is louder than shouting. It unsettles you, though you can't say why. The commandments stand bright on the barn wall, painted bold, promises made in chalk and hope. You trace the words with your eyes. No animal shall wear clothes, no animal shall sleep in a bed, no animal shall drink alcohol, and always, always, no animal shall kill another. They shine like vows spoken in the first bloom of love, pure, confident, almost too certain. And you feel that flutter of trust, fragile as glass but luminous all the same. Time slips forward. Meetings gather in the barn, where voices rise and fall like waves. Snowball sketches plans, chalk dust smearing his trotters as he outlines the windmill, his dream of power harnessed for all. You lean closer, caught in his fervor, and you recognize that familiar rush, the kind you felt when someone told you about their dream, their passion spilling over, their eyes lit with fire. You want to believe, because belief feels warmer than doubt. But Napoleon watches, quiet, and then the dogs appear, ferocious, loyal, snapping at Snowball's heels until he flees, the air sharp with betrayal. You stand frozen, your breath caught, your chest aching the way it does when you watch a friendship fracture. The barn feels colder without him, though the walls stand the same. Napoleon steps forward, voice calm but heavy, declaring leadership as if it had always belonged to him. You know this story. It's the shift you've seen in your own life, when balance tips and someone you thought you understood becomes something else entirely. The taste of power spreads slowly, like honey stirred into tea. The animals work harder, carrying stones for the windmill Napoleon claims as his idea. You watch Boxer strain, his hooves cracked, yet still he whispers his new phrase. Napoleon is always right. The words land heavy in your chest. The way it feels when someone you love puts their faith in the wrong place. Clover sees it too, her silence weighted, but she says nothing, only stands close, as if her nearness could be enough to steady him. Evenings in the barnyard grow quieter. The animals sing less, their laughter dimmed, and yet they cling to the memory of that first rebellion, holding it like a photograph that is starting to fade. You know that ache, the way you hold on to the beginning of love, even when the middle no longer glows the same. One night, you walk past the barn wall and pause. The commandments shimmer faintly in the lantern light. Something feels different. The letters blur, the edges softened. You lean closer, your fingers brushing the wood, and you realize the words have shifted. Not broken, not erased, but bent, reshaped, as if the promises themselves are learning to lie. Your stomach twists. It's the same feeling as finding a note from someone you trusted, but realizing the words no longer mean what you thought they did, and still, life moves forward. The windmill rises slowly, stone by stone, under the weight of every back, every heart. At night, when the stars stretch across the sky, you wonder if this is what love feels like, hopeful, heavy, full of labor that sometimes hurts more than it heals. You close your eyes and imagine the warmth of a hand in yours, steadying you, reminding you that even in shadows, there can be softness. You still wonder if it was love or comfort, that feeling you cling to now. On the farm, under the watchful eyes of the pigs, the difference blurs, just like the words on the barn wall. The windmill rises like a promise, its skeleton of stone and timber stretching upward against the sky. You stand close, feeling the sharp bite of the wind on your skin, and for a moment you believe again. Believe that all the aching backs, all the hooves cracked from labor, might be worth it. The animals push and pull, their breath steaming in the cold, their muscles trembling from effort, and yet they work as if some invisible thread pulls them forward. You've known that feeling too, the way you sometimes keep going, even when your body pleads for rest, because your heart has already decided it must. Boxer pushes hardest of all, his sides heaving, his eyes glowing with that stubborn loyalty. Clover trails close, her soft gaze lingering on him as though she could pour strength into him with her silence. You feel a pang in your chest, remembering how someone once looked at you that way, wordless, patient, carrying care not in declarations, but in the steadiness of their presence. It's strange how such quiet devotion can feel louder than shouting. The days blend, and with them comes unease. The pigs stride through the farm with more weight in their steps, their voices fuller, sharper. Napoleon speaks seldom, yet his words land heavy, like stones dropped in water. His dogs flank him, shadows with teeth, and you notice how the other animals lower their eyes, as though looking too long might invite trouble. You felt that too, that tightening of the air when someone holds power in a room, when silence becomes safer than honesty. And still the commandments stand tall on the barn wall. You glance at them whenever doubt creeps close, tracing the words with your eyes as though they were carved in stone. No animal shall kill another animal. Yet one evening, after whispers ripple through the barnyard, you find yourself standing in horror as confessions spill, thin and trembling, from the mouths of the accused. The dogs leap, the ground stains dark, and you clutch your chest as though to hold your own breath in place. You know that sting, the moment when trust snaps, when a bond you thought unbreakable fractures before your eyes. The commandments shift again. You return to the wall, heart racing, and lean close until the letters blur before your tired gaze. There it is, new words tucked neatly into the old promise. No animal shall kill another animal without cause. The addition is small, almost delicate, but it strikes you harder than thunder. It feels like finding out someone you love has been quietly rewriting the story you thought you shared. You whisper the words under your breath, testing them, and they taste bitter like truth disguised as comfort. Life on the farm grows quieter, tighter. The animals speak less, their voices weren't thin, but they work more, as if silence itself can keep the dream alive. You notice the pigs walking up right now, their trotters awkward yet certain, their bodies leaning into the shape of what they once condemned. It unsettles you, the way small changes creep in until they no longer feel small. It's like the slow shift in a relationship when smiles turn rarer, when conversations shorten and yet you don't notice the weight until it crushes you. The windmill finally stands tall, a giant against the horizon. You step back, the stone's cold under your feet, and your chest swells with something like pride. The animals cheer, their voices rising, but the sound is thinner than before, lacking the fullness of the first rebellion. Still, you feel it, the way hope clings, fragile yet unyielding, like a candle trembling but not going out. You've held on to hope like that before, even when it seemed foolish, even when it seemed to hurt more than it healed. At night, when the stars scatter across the sky like spilled salt, you find yourself lying in the straw, your mind heavy with questions. Was this what old Major dreamed of? Or has the dream already been bent into something else? You think of the way Clover sometimes stands by the barn wall, her eyes cloudy, her lips moving as though she's trying to piece the commandments back into what they once were. You recognize that longing, the way you too sometimes try to hold on to the purity of a moment that's already slipped away. Snowball's memory lingers like a ghost, spoken of only as an enemy, blamed for every crack, every stumble. You know that trick, how easy it is to place your pain on someone who's no longer there to defend themselves. And still, part of you wonders if Snowball's dream, bright and frantic, might have carried the animals further. If only the dogs hadn't chased him from the yard. You still wonder if it was love or comfort, that pull you feel toward his vanished presence, that ache that has no place to rest. The barn grows colder, its silence heavy. You brush your fingers against the wooden boards, feeling the roughness beneath your skin, and you realize the story is shifting again. The animals are still here, still breathing, still working, but the laughter is gone, the warmth dimmed. And you stand in the middle of it all, your heart aching quietly, knowing how fragile dreams are once they leave the mouth of the one who first spoke them. The windmill falls. You hear the stones collapse in the distance like thunder rolling across the fields, and your heart lurches as if the ground beneath you has cracked. The animals stand in silence, their breath clouding in the frosty air, and their eyes carry that hollow look you recognize, the look of someone who has given everything only to watch it crumble. You felt that too, when something you poured your soul into vanished in a single moment, leaving only dust behind. Napoleon's voice rises sharp over the ruin, not sorrowful but commanding, already shaping the collapse into someone else's fault. Snowball, always Snowball, the phantom traitor who becomes more real in absence than he ever was in presence. You listen to the accusations, the certainty with which the words are spoken. And you know this too, the way people sometimes rewrite stories to protect themselves, to twist loss into blame. It makes your chest tighten, the way truth becomes slippery when power grips it. And yet, Boxer does not falter. He bows his great head, his breath heavy, and whispers his mantra, "I will work harder." The sound is both comforting and devastating. You watch Clover's eyes shine with quiet grief, and you know she wants to reach out, to stop him, to tell him that his heart is worth more than his strength. But she doesn't, and you ache with her silence. It reminds you of the times you've stood by someone who refused to stop giving, even when you knew it was breaking them. The helplessness of love without the power to protect. The seasons turn. The animals build again, stone by stone, as though their bodies were endless machines. The pigs grow rounder, their steps slower, their voices louder. You notice the way their skin seems cleaner, their bed softer, their meals richer. At first, you blink and tell yourself it's nothing, small luxuries, nothing more. But then the commandments blur once more, the paint on the wall shifting again. No animal shall sleep in a bed now reads with sheets. You pause, your breath catching, because you know this trick, the way boundaries bend with words, the way promises stretch until they snap. One evening, you hear music from the farmhouse. Light glows in the windows, warm and golden, spilling across the yard. You stand outside with the others, the cold pressing into your skin, and you hear laughter from within. It's a strange kind of ache, like standing in the rain while someone else dances in the glow of firelight. You realize then how far the dream has drifted, how love for the vision has become loyalty to the rulers instead. Boxer falters. His great body, worn from years of work, crumples one morning in the field. You rush to him, kneeling in the dirt, and your hands tremble as you touch his sweat-damp skin. His eyes are tired, so tired, and still he whispers, "Napoleon is always right." The words cut into you, sharp as betrayal, yet soft as resignation. You know that moment when someone you love clings to faith in the wrong place, when you wish you could lift them into safety, but your hands are too small. The cart arrives, its sides painted with words you do not want to believe. The animals gather, their voices calling, begging, but the cart wheels roll on. Boxer's shape disappears down the road, and you feel a hollow open inside you so wide it almost swallows you whole. You've known grief like that, the kind that takes your breath and leaves you with silence so heavy you cannot speak. Clover stands frozen, her eyes wet, her body still, and you feel her pain as if it were your own. The farm moves on, work continues. The windmill rises once more, its shadow stretching long across the field. But the joy is gone, replaced with a mechanical rhythm, each day identical to the one before. You walk through it like a dream, half real, half forgotten. The commandments on the barn wall stand tall, but when you look, they no longer carry meaning. Their words rewritten until they hold only one truth. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Your breath stills at those words. They land in you like a stone dropped into deep water, rippling outward, unsettling everything you thought you knew. You remember the first night in the barn, old Major's voice trembling with hope, the song that bound you together. Now, the memory feels fragile, like a photograph left too long in the sun, its edges curling, its colors fading. You ache for it, even as you know you cannot return. And still you wonder, was it love or comfort that kept you here, watching, waiting, believing in promises that bent and cracked? You can't say. Maybe it was both. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is the quiet you feel now, the hush of the farm as it drifts toward its ending, carrying the weight of all the hopes that once glowed so brightly. The farmhouse glows at night now, windows shining like watchful eyes, casting golden light across the dark yard. You stand at the edge, the chill of the earth beneath your feet, and listen to laughter rising from within. It is a human sound, low voices, clinking glasses, bursts of cheer that once would have signaled danger. But tonight, the animals do not stir. They stand quiet, their breath mingling with the mist, their eyes half-lidded as if too tired to question anymore. Inside, the pigs gather around the long table. Their bodies have changed. They stand taller now, their steps sure, their faces blurred by a strange resemblance to the very masters they once overthrew. You watch Napoleon lift his glass, his eyes gleaming under the lamplight, and you feel your chest tighten. It is the same twist you've felt when someone you thought you knew reveals a side you cannot recognize. The betrayal is sharp, but softer too, dulled by exhaustion, as though your heart can only break so many times before it numbs. The men of the neighboring farms sit with them, their laughter mingling with the pigs. Cards scatter across the table, and smoke curls toward the ceiling. You hear words of partnership, of equality, of shared burdens, and yet the tone carries no warmth. It is a transaction, smooth and practiced. The animals outside cannot hear the details, but you do, each word dripping with the kind of unity that excludes those who listen from the cold. You look toward the barn wall one last time, searching for comfort in the commandments that once held the weight of a dream. But there is only the single line now, painted bold, inescapable. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. The words blur before your eyes, not from distance, but from the sting of knowing how much has been lost. It reminds you of that moment when a love you believed in reveals its cracks, when the promises spoken in soft voices are exposed as illusions. The animals huddle together, their faces tired but patient. Clover stands among them, her eyes heavy with the sorrow of remembering too much. You know that look. It is the same look you've worn when you cling to memories of what once felt pure, even while living inside a version of it that no longer glows. Her body leans against the others, quiet, steady, and you feel her yearning. Not for power, not for glory, but simply for gentleness that has long since vanished. Inside the farmhouse, voices rise, arguments sharp as knives, the clash of cards on wood. You hear Napoleon and the humans both claim victory, their words tangled in pride. And then the shouting breaks into laughter, as if nothing matters more than the game. You lean closer, your breath caught, and peer through the glass. For a moment, you can no longer tell pig from man. Their faces blend, their movements mirror one another, and your heart sinks under the weight of recognition. The story has circled back, closing itself, the beginning reborn as the end. And so you stand there, your body heavy, your chest aching with the quiet truth. The dream that once sparked under the barn roof has dimmed to ash. Yet even now, there is a softness in the night air, a lingering memory of old Major's voice, of the song that once bound the animals together. You hold it close, like a secret pressed into your palm, because even when dreams falter, the longing they leave behind can still warm you in the dark. You still wonder if it was love or comfort, this attachment to the dream, this ache that will not fade. Perhaps it was both. Perhaps it doesn't matter. The lights of the farmhouse flicker, the laughter rises, and the farm settles into silence once more, carrying its story into the quiet night. Let the noise of the farmhouse fade now, as though the walls themselves are softening, their edges dissolving into the night. Imagine the animals sinking into their straw beds, the barn warm with the slow rhythm of breathing, each heartbeat steady, each sigh gentle. The story has closed its circle, and though its ending feels heavy, you do not have to carry its weight. You can set it down here, in the quiet of this moment, and let your shoulders rest. The air outside is calm, the stars patient above you, and the wind moves through the grass like a lullaby. You picture Boxer's steady steps, Clover's quiet eyes, the soft hum of voices that once believed in something brighter. Let those memories drift, not as loss, but as tender echoes, small reminders that even broken dreams once carried warmth. Your breath slows as you imagine walking away from the farmhouse, the glow of its windows shrinking behind you. The earth is cool underfoot, the night soft against your skin. Ahead lies nothing but open fields, stretching long and endless, ready to hold you in stillness. Close your eyes now. Feel the quiet sink deeper, wrapping you like a blanket. There are no rules here, no rewritten words, only the hush of rest waiting for you. Whatever questions linger about love, about comfort, about hope, they can soften too, melting into the dark like whispers you no longer need to chase. Let your body grow heavier, your thoughts slower, until even the story itself dissolves. The animals fade, the farmhouse dims, and only peace remains, deep and endless, waiting just for you.